Hi, this is Kevin Price. Sorry I'm not able to be there at Expansivo. That particular event is one of the more exciting events that I get the chance to go see every year. Was looking forward to it, but with the business changes that we all have to endure because of the coronavirus, I was not able to make it. So I look forward to the next opportunity to be able to see all of you, understand where you've taken your businesses, and understand where you're going to take them in the years to come to make sure that we can be with you alongside a Visual K. So this particular presentation is a roadmap presentation, and by nature, there are things that can change. This particular disclaimer outlines that to an extent, but it is to let you know that as a roadmap and forward-looking document, we do tend to make changes from time to time. So there may be a feature or function that we list out here and talk about, but may change a bit as we start to get to that point of release. So this is me. I've met many of you as I've come down for Expansivo for many years, but if you haven't got a chance to meet, hopefully one day we will. I've been doing nothing but EAM for 23 years, actually a little bit more than 23 years. I've launched about 80% of the applications in the EAM portfolio from an idea that we once had on a whiteboard. I've been responsible for product marketing, management, been a key help with in sales and services, partnerships, about everything that you can think of. In this particular role as an evangelist and strategist, I'm responsible for the product strategy that we take for different areas of the world, for different industries of the world, and what partners we bring about. Let's give you an idea first about CloudSuite EAM and what it's all about. I already know. So by default, this particular application handles assets of any kind. Assets of any kind, let me define that a bit. So anything from buildings to moving assets to rolling stock, things that are locomotives, things that are linear. You'll find in this particular conference some wonderful customers that are in power generation and transmission distribution. And that particular environment is very strong for us. So we have a lot of linear assets, a lot of componentized assets. Each one of these images you see are taken from a specific area and a specific customer, and some are taken from their website, some are taken by my own camera, but they're real life assets that we maintain on a regular basis and growing. If you think about CloudSuite Enterprise Asset Management and what it is, we build our applications in a specific way, in a specific mean. So looking at it from the ground up, typically a lot of customers will have partners and vendors that offer solutions that are either in the cloud or not. And sometimes they're on-premise, they have a different version than they have into the cloud. Not us. The exact same cloud version exists on-premise. We are a cloud first release strategy company, so we do release to the cloud first with everything that we do, but it is the same version that's kept locally. We'll find that out as we talk about the release cadence, but we use the Amazon Web Services environment to help with that. Then next is on the platform. That particular platform area is where we have integration tools, where we have internet connection tools, where we have document management tools and the like. Industry is where we're going to spend a lot of today's presentation. That particular area of the development environment is where we add new feature functions to products like EAM, like workforce management, human capital management, ERPs. So this is where we spend a lot of adding feature function to build the product up to where it is today. Cloud and network tiers, those particular layers, those are ones that we continue to build out in a special way, because making the application available for the cloud is a difficult thing to do, but it's something we spend a lot of time on to make sure that the application is available for you when you need it, how you need it, and can be done in a very reliable way. The analytics and Coleman top tiers are what we have at our very tip of our implementation. And what we mean by that is bringing about automation, bringing about business intelligence, machine learning, being able to look at your assets, making decisions for you based on best practices. And actually some of those particular top end tiers are done by customers at this event. So glad to have the opportunity. If we look at Infor EAM CloudSuite and we understand what the release cadences are, what we're looking at and what we're trying to understand is how often the actual releases that are coming out. So if we take a look, what we do first is we have calendar dates that we go through. So if you look at it as an example here, we have a consolidated maintenance windows in which we roll out new feature functions. As an example here is to give you an idea of what we've done through June 19th through March 20th. We do send notifications out. We do different areas. We do different zones based on the multi-tenant installation of Amazon. But as a general rule, we release out every other month. If you look at what we've done over this past year, we've done 6 SaaS releases, and that combines of maintenance updates that are basically every other month, and then we bulk them into functional updates with new feature function twice a year. And then, of course, once a year, we compact what we've done on the web, and we roll it into an annual on-premise release. This is why we have the same version on-premise as we do in the cloud. If you look at the cadence here on how often, just to give you some dates, you can see 11.4, 0.1, 0.3 in May, and then another in June and September, November, on and on and on. We have a major function on the bottom going to 11.5 in November and then carried forward. So the next major release of on-premise will probably happen towards the end of this year, and it'll be 11.6. But in between those, we'll have intermittent releases. Those intermittent releases are documented very well. So 11.4.1.1, we have release notes with. We have small updates too in these 11.4.1.1 patches. 11.4.1.2, we have a couple more. 11.4.1.3. If you notice, there's some smaller updates to different types of modules like work orders or pick tickets. With each release, we've been doing a lot with mobile. So mobile is very big for us. We do a lot with it because we firmly believe that our users are not in an office. They're out in the field. So we need to give them solutions that cater to that. If you look at some of the other releases that came in July and September, there's more and more details that are there. 11.5 is the culmination of a new release. So there's a lot of release notes. There's a whole new documentation set. You can get this on the support portal with ease. You can download the entire ISO image. You can get copies of individual PDFs like white papers, release guides, requirement details, all that kind of stuff into the cloud in the support portal. So what we did in this last release, 11.5, actually had themes to it, had ideas of certain capabilities. We had core updates, which were things that we improved like asset modules and materials modules and work modules, but we also did components extensions to those around mobility. If you look at the bottom of security and technical advancements, these are things that we continue to do with each release as a solution that's in the cloud and locally, and a solution that protects assets. We have to be very, very high on security and being able to make sure that we have a very tough to get into solution and scale solution. So we do a lot of that kind of work with every release as we start to build through. If you look at industry enhancements and maintenance maturity in the top, these are things that you'll find updates to, like linear asset components, the building information models. You'll see different types of evolution that we're taking the application from basic reactive maintenance to prescriptive and predictive maintenance and what we're calling APM, which is asset performance management, or bringing in condition understanding, which we call condition-based maintenance. So a lot of work there, theme, and then of course integration, being able to scale the application as you need to in your implementation. So in the roadmap, what you'll find are different icons of status from the beginning of just researching of Explore all the way down to a check mark. That means it's done. And there's different phases that we have in development. And sometimes it logically progresses naturally from one stage to the next, and our maturation of development effort. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it resets. And that's, again, the nature of development. It tends to be a little bit volatile. What we did with 11.5 is here I attempted to put it onto one screen. It doesn't mean that that's it, right? We have a whole lot of detail that's out there on documentation, but some elements around building information models is the BIM, and we're going to have our partner in OpenCAD speak to that later on. A lot of work around mobility and, of course, updates that we made. Some of the things that we are seeing out there is the rise of metering, the rise of monitoring. the rise of a lot of types of ways to understand your assets at a moment's notice. And that's really done because of the Internet of Things. So with these statistics that you're seeing here, the billions and billions of connected things that are coming about, and the number of data elements that are not being used from original equipment manufacturers, we're trying to help our customers understand how to deal with that. So what we've done is we've provided tools to take data out of EAM from these meters, from history of assets to work and all this other data, and push it into the cloud called the Infor Data Lake. Before, this was a very hard, not really hard, but involved activity from a services level to be able to take data, extract it, and roll it to the cloud. Now we have a natural user administration function. I can actually go to an administration screen. I can select which table I want, and I can upload it on a regular basis so that I can overlay that perhaps with data coming from weather systems or coming from original equipment manufacturer systems, what have you, so that I can be able to understand how to better maintain that asset and really get into more of an automation type of component. We couldn't do that before because of the nature of what our connection was to the cloud and to large data sets like that, but we've changed it. Another thing that we're doing too is we're following along the natural progression of maintenance maturity. In this, you'll find different stages, and you're seeing this today of reactive stages of just when it breaks, fix it, or preventive, putting times and schedules to it, or predictive to try and do analysis techniques to understand when it's going to fail, or systematize it, which we have also called consumptive maintenance or prescriptive maintenance, so that this data that you have perhaps into the cloud or other areas can help tell you when to fix it. Not only that, but how to fix it, why to fix it, and which particular parts to use or which particular people to use based on the history that you have. And it's a definite maturity model that we can help you with in our tools, and then we can help you with in partners like Visual K to understand how to apply these different methods, when to apply them, and why. And that evolution gets us more into understanding how to better perform that asset, the people that are working on that asset, the materials that are using that asset, the tools, the approaches to be able to reach your goals. And when we talk about that, we're really taking the classics of enterprise asset management and evolving it, expanding it into a concept of asset performance management. And when we do that, we have to change the way we think of certain things in our asset management system today, such as how we rank, or the level of service that it's provide, or what type of prediction that we put on when the asset is going to fail. So we're doing changes to the application to support this. Over time, what you'll find is the needs to do asset performance management on critical asset are going to be there, and our need to going to be implemented in a different way. So you need a solution that's already there, already set. You don't need to go to a third party to integrate and connect and all of that. So what we're doing is building that for you in the system, and then working with partners like Visual K who are experts in these types of things. One of the things that's interesting when you do more asset performance management as compared to just doing classic work management or enterprise asset management is you start to bring in other people in the organization that may or may not have been directly involved in your implementation. You can see in the asset owner and the asset manager here, they do have some basics that they've done. So they create an asset and they put a hierarchy structure to it. But the actual condition assessment, the different types of involvement in environmental impacts or situations to be able to manage those assets and how they change and how they affect, the asset manager and asset owner don't always know that. The condition inspector who gathers that detail and the reliability engineer, which is becoming more commonplace now, knows all of that. So how do we bring that to bear? How do we bring those things and those studies and those data capture points into EAM? And then not only when I do that, how do I communicate it back to the asset owner, the asset manager? And then ultimately, how do I determine, based on all of that, what kind of funding that I'm going to need to be able to maintain that asset in the way that I need to maintain it, and the availability that I need to have, and the uptime percentage that I need to have, and the safety that I need to have? How do I plan for that? How do I put money behind that? So these steps involve a lot of different types of people, so you need a lot of different type of care points as you start to build into it. So we're doing more on that as well. To help out the reliability engineer, we're adding more statistical decay curves. We already had Weibull and Laplace. We're looking to put in Markovian, FMICA. There's a whole lot of new start and end scenarios that we can build in, condition classifications that we're putting in, a lot of different ways to understand how that asset's going to fail. Now, these are things typically you would find outside of what we had in EAM, but we're building that into the application every day. And to do that, we also have to change the way we do our indices, understanding condition, putting reliability formulas to them, putting different types of component structures to be able to understand what that condition could be based on how I'm running the asset today, based on how I'm going to run it tomorrow, based on the different indicators that I can get from other data points. So we're actually updating the way that we rank equipment. We're also looking at ways to be able to visualize this. This is something that Giuseppe is going to talk to a bit more, our partner in CAD systems, extraordinary partner in CAD systems. But we're able to incorporate not only 2D models, but also now 3D models. And these can be done of individual assets as a digital twin, but they can also be full models of buildings as they transfer from the construction phase back down into the operate and maintain phase. When we look at visualization, we also want to do a better job of it in the field, so not just within CAD drawings, but we want to be able to take different types of mapping components. This happens to be a big component of what we do in transmission, distribution, and power generation. Being able to see on a map where we have problems, where we need to inspect, how we need to get there. In the past, we did one map at a time. In the mobile application, in the core, we did multiple, but this is expansion with those tools and becoming areas where we can download maps into software development kits from ESRI, or we can do them as connected maps at the same time. It just depends on the needs of the implementation. Other areas that we continue to build upon, we'll continue to expand. This is part of the nature of developing an application, right, is doing that industry last mile feature function, doing more around linear asset, being able to search better, understand where we have problems, where we can have opportunities, doing more with permitting, doing small components by elongating the part descriptions and filter options and things like that. So you'll see a lot more that come in small impacts, but it's a lot that we're working on as we continue to invest a high level of our capital into EAM. If you look at what's beyond 11.5 and what we're working on now, first we start with 11.5.1, which we're in the middle of deploying as we speak into different regions around the world. We've done some APAC. We're starting to roll it into Europe, and then we'll come into the US. With this, as I mentioned, we do have some updates to asset performance management, but we also have reliability center maintenance updates and failure mode calculations that we had with FMICA. So we're doing a lot around the APM message, right? Other things we're doing too, which we're excited about, is mobility. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but a ton of work there too. As we look at 11.6, we're going to continue with the idea of asset performance management, continue with the idea of asset investment planning and capital asset planning. So you can be able to get to that end game of how much money do I need to maintain my assets at this state, or how much money would I need to update the condition from X to Y or from Y to Z. So we're doing a lot more there. We're trying to do more around how we dispatch out resources, either from an optimization standpoint or just an automation standpoint. Mobility is going to be a big play for there, and a couple more. Beyond 2020, we're still looking at lots of engines, what we can do to be able to bring in more artificial intelligence and machine learning into EAM as opposed to pushing out to other parties. We're looking at what we can do in automating how we dispatch and schedule people, as well as material purchases, and making those augmented and making those optimized. Other things we're doing with OpenCAD and a couple of others you'll find is to be more visual in our asset structures and understanding how they impact the best. So to do that, we're spending a lot of time moving forward after 11.5 on asset performance management, state of good repair, asset investment planning, these acronyms up at the top, and be able to forecast out what we can understand today and how we can bring in lots of scenarios. So what if scenarios is a very big play to that. So what if I had an influx of $2 million, where should I spend that money? What if I were going to remove our application of this particular type of asset management strategy to another one, and how would I build that out? There's a lot of different ways to be able to look at different scenarios. We want to incorporate them all. To do that, one of the main things is being able to push the application to the field, and giving them tools that matter, and being able to take advantage of the data that we collect in EAM, and that's done through mobile. So we developed this into a core competency for a long time, since 1998, but we're doing more around it every day. As you can see, the evolution of doing Windows devices to Java extensions, and ever since 2012, the new evolution of code set that we've been working on today. What that's given us is a beautiful layer, is a beautiful user interface. Many of you are using this today. We're building on it. And the reason why is we want to have a complete digital experience within mobility, with everything that we do. We want to have the entire application. And over the years, we've tried to do that in a big way. We've tried to build it out into multiple applications in different environments in different areas, and what that's created is a lot of chaos. Has been a lot of noise, and we want to limit that as much as we can so that we can administrate the application for mobility rather than just having different apps to download. So to do that, what we're doing is we're returning back from a native application development future to an HTML5 application development future, to actually design the screens in the core of the application, the security, the tabs in the core of the application, and push it out to the mobile devices. So you'll start to see things that look like this. So instead of seeing just your equipment menu, maybe you'll see your screen clones. You'll see facility assets, or if you have a truck screen that you've cloned, you'll see those. It recognizes complete security that you put into EAM, all the business rules that you put in, all of the experiences of how you use and migrate through different screens and forms and blocks. All of that we're looking to cascade. So you're going to see a lot come from the mobile efforts, as well as some of these core asset management challenges in the future. It'll start coming towards the latter half of the summer, and then of course heavier into the next year. So as we look into 11.6, as we look beyond into 2020, there's a lot that's coming. There's a lot that's already came in 11.5 and 11.5.1, but there's going to be a lot more that comes, and we're really excited to be a part of it right now, because it's an exciting time. But be sure to work with Visual K as tight as you can, work with us as tight as you can, because there's some areas of opportunity in here that if we're not looking at or not listening to, we're not going to be helpful in the marketplace. So the more that we can speak, and the more that we can interact, and the more can we collaborate together, the better. Want to make sure that you're aware of Infor. It's coming up in September. It's going to be in Las Vegas. Typically, you'll find a little between 5,000 and 6,000 people. The last time we had this event was in New Orleans last year. Before that, we've had it in DC, we've had it in New York, we've had it in a lot of different places. So if you get a chance, go out and look, register as soon as you can to inforum.infor.com. Would love to see you. I'd love to have some conversations with you to understand where you're taking your. That's all I have. I really appreciate your time and listening to me today and attending the virtual event of Expansivo. Again, frustrated that I can't be there myself to shake your hand, to talk to you, to understand what you've done and where you're taking your business. But I do look forward to the next opportunity, because again, Expansivo is one of the best events of the year by far. Thank you.